Good morning, Brooklyn Squad. This is the third video that I have done, okay, since 3 something in the morning, and it did not record. So now I'm a little sleepy because of my anxiety medicine, but I'm going to try to stay focused because this story is huge, to me at least, and devastated. And I'm just now finding out about this story 2 days ago. You guys haven't been seeing me. I've been working on my blog. I have a new website now, okay, that I own. Okay. My name on it. So no one can smash it. Has a domain in it because I paid for it, okay? And I didn't know how important that was till I started doing my research. But I ain't forget about Brooklyn Squad. The name of my website is going to be, do I want to tell y'all? They're not gonna be, but it is. I'm gonna tell y'all. It's called Brooklyn Squad Daily News, and you can look it up on brooklynsquad.wordpress.com. All right. So let's get into this video. This young man was 25 years old. His name was Jelani Day. Okay. He has brothers and sisters. A mother who is pleading out for more help and justice for her son. 25 Jelani Day was missing after a Spencer. He lived in Illinois. He was in college. Okay, he was about to become a doctor. So handsome, smart, and black. That's how we like him. Okay. No drama, no drugs, no chaos. He wasn't about that life. He was about his family. He had no kids, but he had sisters and brothers. So he was about his family and going to college and making something out of himself instead of just another black brother on the corner. He wasn't that. He disappeared, I believe, on August 25th. I'm not sure, but his mother's going to tell you when he disappeared and how she got the news. Now, this right here is part one. We're going to be catching up on this story. I'm kind of upset that I didn't see the story before. It wasn't that much around it before because the cops were focused on something else. Another young girl that was missing but white. And we're going to talk about that too, okay? But let's hear what the mother has to say in this interview. Now, this interview goes 3 months back, and I'm doing 3 months back because I want you guys to kind of see how it all begun, like I had to see if you didn't know about the story. And if you did, kudos, and just continue to watch because you're going to learn more. So this would be part one. I'm going back 3 months, and then I'll go back 2 months, a month, and then a few weeks. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it on here. Please come and subscribe. I know my videos isn't like fancy and characters on it and all these other fancy things, but I do my best with content that I can, and what I bring y'all is straight real, no force, no fake, no jack. Okay, you guys know that. So please subscribe, give us a chance, give yourself a chance. Also hit that notification bell so you know when I'm gonna drop another video. Alright? Hit thumbs up in the video and don't be shy to put some comments and let me know what kind of stuff, what kind of videos or content you guys are interested in me looking for and doing the research so I could bring it to you guys. Also want to do a Q&A about me, let's do that. Let's do something. Let's get Brooklyn Squad on the map, okay? I'm going to try my best to I'm going to bring in more content and I'm going to do more than one video a day. But let's get into this story, y'all. I hope this is recording. Lord knows.
We have seen the past week, all of a sudden, lots of attention focused on black folks who are missing. Why? because mainstream media got criticized on this very issue. All of a sudden, major networks start, oh, what's going on? We're going to sit here and cover African Americans. One of the folks who's been missing for a little over a month was Jelani Day, a student at Illinois State University, disappeared on August 24th. It was reported missing on August 25th. Yesterday, of
I
course,
hope you guys can hear that. My husband's sleeping, y'all, so
that his body was found in the Illinois River.
just trying to be
Joining us right
respectful.
now on the show is Jelani's mother, who, and I can only imagine how difficult this is, having to spend the past month wondering where her son is. Carmen Day joins us right now. First and foremost, Carmen, certainly our condolences for this very difficult news. First and foremost, it had to be aggravating and frustrating to watch networks send reporters to Denver, to Florida, to New York, to all over America, covering the case of this missing white woman whose body was found. And I'm not diminishing at all that story, but the resources that was put into that, and you and others were going, hey, can someone explain to me what happened to my son?
I don't even think the word is frustrating. It was disrespectful, because it was showing me that the media, the police, the FBI, they thought that this young white girl was more important than my young black son. And I was mad, I was angry, because the same focus and the same attention that I had been asking for and pleading for and begging for, I couldn't receive.
Your son was seen coming out of a dispensary, and then that was it. When were you notified that he was missing? What did the cops do? Was there a real investigation? Was there an actual search for him?
I found out he was missing on Wednesday evening, which would have been the 25th. My son, my oldest son, had called me and said, Mom, the police are here and they're looking for Jelani. And I was like, looking for Jelani for what? He said, the police want to know, have you talked to Jelani? I was like, yeah, I just talked to Jelani. On that particular day, I thought I had talked to Jelani on that Tuesday. But as I scrolled through my phone, I realized I hadn't spoken to Jelani since Monday. And I guess the reason I thought I had spoken to Jelani on Tuesday, because on Monday, Jelani had called me so much that I thought I had talked to him on Tuesday. So Wednesday, when I got off of work and DeAndre called me and told me that the police were looking for Jelani, I immediately hung up from DeAndre and I was calling Jelani's phone. Well, his phone went straight to voicemail, which at first didn't alarm me, because Jelani's been known to put his phone on Do Not Disturb. But when he does that, I fussed at him so much that Jelani calls me right back just like that. Well, on this day, I didn't get a call back. So I texted him, and I was like, call me ASAP. And I did not hear anything from him. So then my oldest son said, Mom, I'm going to go to Bloomington. Well, the police had came to my home, which is in Danville, Illinois, and I was 2 hours away. So DeAndre drove to Bloomington. In the meantime, I got more insight and information as to how or who came up with the fact that Jelani was missing. So it was this professor who had called. So I got her number and I called her. So after listening to her tell me that she has been texting with Jelani all Monday evening, about little bit after 9, her and Jelani had been texting. They had been talking about some school stuff. And Jelani was supposed to meet with her that Tuesday because she said there was something that he had to get done for me. She said that he didn't show up on Tuesday. Then he didn't show up for his class on Wednesday. So she became worried, and she called the Red and White. I guess it's some group on campus that checks on the students if you don't see them. At 1 o'clock that afternoon, and by 5 p.m. she hadn't heard from him. So she went to her chair, and her chair contacted this group, and then the group told her that they had 24 hours to go look for Jelani. So instead of waiting the 24 hours, she said she contacted the police to do a wellness check on Jelani. So being that Jelani didn't list the apartment that we had purchased for him as his home address, the police ended up coming to my home in Danville because that was listed as his home address, which I'm grateful for because that gave me an alert that my child was missing. The police didn't let me know. I spoke to her. Then I spoke to this young girl, another white girl that was in Jelani's class that was upset, and she had contacted one of my daughter's friends and said that she hadn't heard from Jelani. So I contacted the young lady, wanted to know what her and Jelani relationship was. When was the last time she talked to him? My son by this time had gotten to Bloomington, went to Jelani's apartment. There was no sign of Jelani. I called the police officer back, told him to meet my son there. I ended up filing a missing persons report that night. The next morning, I got up early in the morning and checked the bank to see if Jelani's card had been swiped, and that's when I found out his card had purchased something at the Starbucks on Tuesday. I started doing my research then. I left Belleville, Illinois, and we went to Bloomington. I went to the Starbucks. I went to the school. I ended up speaking to the teacher in person, who then let me know. I found out that Jelani had actually been on the campus that Tuesday morning. At 6:50, he had logged into the computers on campus, put in some notes because he had clinicals that day, and he had 2 patients that he needed to see. However, he didn't show up for clinicals or the patient. I also found out that at that point, that's all I knew at that point, that he had been to Starbucks, and I knew he had been there since 7 something in the morning. Moving forward, I later learned that the last ping on his phone was at 9:20. The detective that was then assigned to the case, let me back up because let's get to the part where how I got the detective. I called the professor because when I called the school to ask them if they had cameras, if they had seen my son, they kind of blew me off. It was like, okay, we'll get to it. So I called her because I'm like, okay, this is a faculty member, and maybe she can make some progress for me. So I had her check and see if we can get the cameras to look. When she called me back,
sorry guys,
she told me that the cameras had already been retrieved by the police. And that kind of puzzled me. I was like, what? Because I just reported him missing. I hadn't even told anyone that he had been to Starbucks. So how had they had the cameras from Starbucks? But I listened to her, and then she said that she knew somebody in the police department that had some higher up authority, and they were going to get a detective on the case. And that is how I got a detective that day from her helping me. Got a detective that day. I spoke with the detective. I gave him everything that I knew. That's when we found out Jelani's last ping on his phone was at Veterans Parkway. The detective figured out that his ping, there were businesses in that area, and that's how we found out he was at Beyond Hello. Then they retrieved the video of him leaving Beyond Hello, and I see that he had on shirts and a short, which means he had changed his clothes from when he was at Starbucks that morning, because that morning when I seen him, he had on his dress shirt and dress slacks and dress shoes as if he was prepared for school to go on to his interviews or his clinicals. Now I'm thinking, what deterred my son from taking care of his business, because it had to be something.
Guys, my
Somebody
hands
had to
shake a
call
lot,
him. He
so I'm
figured
so
that he had to
sorry.
do
I'm trying to
something.
focus.
So we requested video from campus. Initially, they just gave me the video footage of him being at Starbucks. After speaking with the detective and him checking with the school, they later saw monitor Jelani's swiping of his card and his movements around campus. We then obtained video. Jelani was actually on campus, walking around, and looked like he was waiting for somebody or looking for somebody. And finally found out that he was waiting for the health center to open, because one of the things that he was supposed to meet this professor about that day was there was 2 parts that he needed to be done. He needed to get a TB test, and he had only completed one part of it. So he was getting that stuff done, and I'm assuming that when he went there, because nobody can remember speaking to him, but you do see him on the video, that they couldn't get in because it was a by appointment only.
Well, I'm still trying to understand this, and this is why I'm just totally confused here. He comes up missing. Mm-hmm. Do they trace his steps? First of all, do they initiate a search? What actually happened to try to find him?
His mom, they discovered his car on the 25th, which was that Thursday evening.
And they discovered his car where?
In Peru, Illinois. His car was discovered in a wooded area in Peru, Illinois.
And how far is Peru, Illinois from Bloomington?
60 miles from Bloomington.
60 miles. So he was last seen in Bloomington, and we have a map up right now. His wallet was found. Where was his car found? The same place where his wallet was found?
Not that I understand, no.
And then his body's found in the Illinois River. Do you believe foul play was involved in the death of your son, and have they determined the cause of death?
I definitely believe that foul play was involved. And no, they have not. The cause of his death is unknown at this time. They're trying to create the narrative that Jelani had mental issues and he was depressed, but the devil is a lie. There was nothing wrong with my son. He was not depressed about anything. He was not overwhelmed about anything. He had been in a program that was challenging. He went to an HBCU where he kept his GPA up to 3.3, 3.4 and higher, while he pledged online, while he was in a group house arrest. He pledged for them. He was a collegiate honor student. He did all of that, plus he partied. And I would get on him. I'd be like, Jelani, your grades better be good. And nothing ever failed with him. He kept all up. So he knew pressure and he could handle pressure. So them trying to convey this or wanting to make me think that my son, because his dad is ill, because things were going on in school and it was a challenging program, that he was under pressure, is a lie. Jelani could handle all of that. He had been handling. He's handled many things. And so the fact that he's in Peru, which which is a town that only comprises of 1% of black people, that he's never been there before. I've never heard of it until they found his car there. Then they want me to think that he actually took his car, parked it in this wooded area that you would only know about this area if you are from there, that you have been there, or you lived and grown up there, because it's one of those areas where you just don't find by going down the street. It's tucked away. So he didn't park his car there. Then they want me to believe that he parked his car there and he walked his little happy self to this riverbank, took off his shoes and socks and his shorts, and put himself in the water and drowned himself. Number one, my son was on the swim team and he could swim. So
keep that in
none of
mind.
it makes sense to me. And I'm not going to let them create a narrative that makes anyone think that my son had any kind of mental health issues, that he was not a strong young man. My son is smart. He was determined. He was goal-driven. He had things in his life that he wanted to accomplish, and somebody stole all of this from him. I don't know if they thought he had money because of the car he drove, or because of how well kept he was, or because the way his
handsome black brother,
the way he kept himself up. But somebody did this to him, because Jelani didn't just drive himself to Peru. He didn't just put himself in a river. He didn't just drop his wallet in somebody's yard. He didn't just leave his lanyard laying on the ground. He didn't do none of that to himself. Somebody did it, and they didn't do nothing to try to find it out. That car was found on the 26th, which was a Thursday. By that Saturday, I conducted my own search, gathered people, had them in Peru. There was not one police officer there to help us, to guide us, to lead us, to show us anything. I even posted on social media. I don't know how to conduct a search, but I know I have to search. And whoever can help me, please join me in searching for my son. And people showed up. I did the search the next day in Bloomington, near his apartment, because my kids was like, Mama, let's search this area. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to search. Nobody was telling us anything. So I had to make moves on my own. I had to figure out things. My kids have been on computers trying to figure out things. We tried to get into his phone. His location turned off. Apple wouldn't help us, so we created a protest against Apple. Had everybody tagging them until we could get some help. The police were telling me that they had to get a subpoena against Apple, and it would take sometimes it takes 6 months for Apple to respond. Not with this one, it wasn't going to take 6 months. I found Apple's policy.
I'm sorry guys, I keep going in and out, in and
I
out.
gave him a number. I had people calling, just bombarding Apple with phone numbers. One of my friends
Trying to stay awake.
found out that he sat on a board with somebody from Apple, and he contacted them for me. By that night at midnight, Apple had at least responded with some kind of spreadsheet, according to Detective Jones, with some information. That wasn't because they did anything. That was all because of the groundwork and the legwork that me and my friends and strangers put in for my son. When you use constant
I hate commercials, guys,
prepare accordingly.
but we gotta deal with it.
After the Apple stuff, we had to still look for things. We're looking for clues. I had to hire a private investigator. I had to call Illinois Search and Rescue so that they can get involved, so that they can perform a search. And it was them that
you're saying his body was found September 4th?
September 4th.
It was found September 4th, and it wasn't until yesterday that they identified that was indeed him.
It wasn't until yesterday.
Let's show the guy.
only
Hold on.
reason that I feel like that happened on
There we go.
yesterday was
Sorry,
because
guys.
of all this pressure.
Listen,
that
I'm gonna
put
get
on
better
them
at this,
because I've
okay?
talked about how inept the police have been. I've talked about how they have not provided me any kind of information. I've talked about how they haven't helped me in any kind of way. So I didn't want them anymore to help me do anything. I need the FBI. I needed the same coverage that when I woke up one morning, I saw this white girl plastered everywhere. I saw everybody talking about her. I saw her all on social media, and her parents said they hadn't talked to her in 2 weeks before they reported her missing. I hadn't talked to my son in 1 day before I reported him missing, and I didn't get nothing. Not nothing. But she had the FBI, and they had people looking for her everywhere. And I sit there, and do not get me wrong, Gabby, my heart goes out to her parents, because I know what it feels like to not know where your child is, to want to know where they is, to want to make sure they safe. I know what that feels like. I was sitting in that seat with her. But I didn't know what it felt like to have the FBI come in and use all their resources and to use everything they had to find her, to find their child. I didn't know what that felt like. They found her within 3 days.
Thank God.
Day 30 is when I found out where my son was.
Carmen, there are other parents who are having to endure this same thing. We had a brother on, Daniel Robinson, on yesterday. And I hate to have to ask this question, but the reality is it's going to happen again. What advice do you give to anybody out there that if their child comes up missing, what they should do from the beginning? What would you tell them based upon what you've had to endure, what you still are enduring? What would you tell them that they need to do the moment that child is missing?
What my message to everybody now is, right now, while you still know where your child is, number one, use those locations. I don't care how old your child is. Use those locations. Those locations are very, very important.
So what you mean is make sure that those tracking devices are on. And let me tell you something. There's an app. I think it's called Mama Bear. My wife put it on my niece's phone, and the app is interesting because she can tell when they're in a vehicle how fast that vehicle is even going. And I think one day they were riding with somebody, and she sent a text. She said, "Tell them to slow down," because she actually saw it. And there are a lot of people who
Let me stand up, guys, because I'm falling asleep. I took my anxiety pill.
But what you're saying is that location service is important to be able to track those steps.
It's very important. For some reason, Jelani's location and everything was turned off. I don't understand as to why, but it was. So we were very limited on what we could see with Jelani's phone. The Mama Bear app, I never heard of it, but that's good. But I have all my kids on now, the Life 360. Just like the Mama Bear app, it tells how fast they going. It shows you where they been at, how long they were there, everything. It's important to let people know what you're doing, because you never know when they need to know that information to help you. I would also tell everyone that before this ever happens to anybody, I know our kids think we're nosy, but no passwords and usernames to things that they're in. And if they don't want you to know it right now, put it up somewhere. Tell them you don't want to be nosy. You just want to make sure that if at any time you need it, it's available to you because it's a help. Those things can help you. But if it does happen to you, I would advise anyone, do not let up. Don't take no for an answer of anything. Do not let anyone tell you that we don't think that he's here. If you feel like that's where your child was, never let no one stop you. Follow your intuition. Follow your gut. Do exactly what you feel should be done. If they get mad, if they get pissed, that's on them. What I did in this whole process was I tried not to be the angry black female, the aggressive woman that they would think didn't want to work with them because I wanted them to find my son. I should have been that same angry black woman from the gate because that's what put the fire under them to make them get off their butts and to make things happen. And they still didn't do it until I started talking negative about them. I had to get on here, had to get on news outlets, I had to get on media outlets and let everybody know that they wasn't doing their job, that my son wasn't getting what he deserved, that if you don't see the racial disparity because you see this white girl everywhere and my black son who has been missing longer than her is not being found and not being helped, something is wrong with this picture.
Indeed.
But
all right, so if you're looking for some kind of hustle online,
Ooh, I hate
you got to check this out. I did a quick search on Upwork.
I promise you, and I mean this, Jelani did not die in vain. Not only whoever did this, I hope if they see me to always know I'm going to find out what happened to him. But Jelani's name will be remembered. Jelani is going to make a difference. My son is going to make a difference. He's going to help somebody else. This was not done in vain because my son told me that he wanted to do something to help people. His helping was to be a speech pathologist. But now he got in a whole different movement. And since he's spoke for other people and he's not here to speak for himself anymore, his mom will definitely be his voice.
Carmen Day, we're so sorry that you have to endure this. It is never an easy thing for any bury their children. We often hear this, that children are supposed to bury their parents. And hopefully, we will see a change in police departments and others where they will not blow off African Americans who come up missing, because it happens all too often. We appreciate you joining with us, sharing your story with us, and we're going to continue to do our part to ensure to highlight.
Wow. I'm so sorry. I kept going in and out the camera. I'm trying to stay awake. I should have never took my anxiety medicine. I wasn't even thinking. But I did, so you guys know how it's going to be. I don't want to look like the druggie on here. That was some deep stuff. That was very, very powerful. The cops need to do their job. They get paid. They have a badge. This is what they need to do. There was a big story about the white young girl. All the attention was on her. As soon as a black man and you know, I must say when I first heard the story, I was like, the details that goes on with this story, which I will reveal later, is horrifying. And not the least to say what the family is going through. And I'm not to say that the young girl didn't have, she wouldn't have had people to help her, and she wouldn't have been through, what do you call it? The loss, basically the lost. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people go through things and they don't want to talk about it to their parents. They rather go on social media. I'm not saying about him, but what I'm saying is social media is a platform. I never knew how deep social media was until like a couple years ago, and I'm still learning. Some people go through stuff and don't want to share it with their close ones in reality, but they'll share it on social media to get the help that they need. And I get that, I understand that. This story should have been plastic all over social media. So you get what I'm saying? It should have been plastic everywhere. Okay? This young man was missing. Okay? Where is he? At that time, we didn't know. Well, now we know. You know what I'm saying? But when I say where is he, I'm saying at that time, like where, where did he go? Where did he disappear to? You know what I'm saying? You just don't go to the store and then you're never seen again. Unheard of. This would be part one. I'm gonna drop another video in a few. And please keep that family in your prayers. And let justice be justice for once. Okay? Let justice be justice for once. There's so much stuff out here that's going on. People are not talking about it. Don't know why. But this woman is. And that's a blessing. And we're going to keep her in our prayers. I'm going to continue to keep her in my prayers. And I also just found out one of my lovely, special to my heart YouTubers, one of our sisters on Brooklyn Squad, went to school with this young man. Was at the same college. So you never know who you meet. And she's such a wonderful young lady. She know who I'm talking about. I didn't know she wanted me to put her name out there. But she went to school with him. You know? And that's the part that I only know, that she went to school with him. It's sad when you have to see someone you graduate in a position like this. You get it? It's sad for anyone. You know? Anybody. All right, Brooklyn Squad. Peace out.